Hey guys, sorry it's been so long since I made a video, but I appreciate anyone that's still around. This project I'm going to do some rust bluing again. I'm going to try out Bob's stuff as seen on Mark Novak's Anvil channel. They have a couple different videos where they rust blue stuff with this. So I'm going to give it a try. I used the Brownell's Classic Rust Blue the last time I did this, so the projects I'm doing here, this is a Caspian 1911 frame, and I built this into a 1911 probably 2012, and I cold blued it. It was in the white when I got it, and of course it looks awful because it's cold blue and it still smells like Brownell's Oxbow blue. Then I have a completely jacked up Colt Pocket Hammerless. This one is a buddy's of mine, and he bought it for pretty cheap. And the guy who had it before him, it must have been really rusty, and they took some kind of power tool to it, and there were tool marks, scratch marks all over this thing. So I did my best to kind of touch it up and remove those tool scratches, like a wire wheel, it looked like, maybe a Dremel wheel. And I didn't get all of them, but I didn't want to polish it down, remove markings, make it look fake. So I left it a little rough, but I got most of the obvious tool markings off of it. So I'm not going to film this whole process because you can just pull up Mark's video and see the whole deal. But I'm going to make some videos as I go along and let you know how it's going. These are the parts that I'm going to do. There's a few small parts on this that I'm going to hot oil blue and see how that turns out. But for everything you see here, I'm going to use this rust blue method. So I'm going to degrease these and get started. Alright, I just got done putting the first application on. It's very difficult to get it even. Now I did dilute the rust blue solution with a little bit of denatured alcohol. The instructions say to do that if you're going for a little bit shinier finish. So that's what I'm hoping for. And now it says to just let it sit for 2 hours. Then you reapply it, and then that's when you start doing your sweat box damp application to make it rust up. So I'm going to let it sit here for a couple hours, reapply the solution. It's really difficult to get it on perfectly evenly and not overlap, because it's, you squeeze out your little cotton ball, so you're not applying a whole lot of moisture to it as you wipe it, and sometimes you just can't see what you've gone over. So you'll accidentally go over another spot that you've already gone over, and that's probably what causes something like that right there. But what I found, and hopefully it's true with this as well, with that Brownell's Classic Rust Blue, if you have spots like that, you're doing several applications and cycles of this, so you can catch the spots up that you may have not done a great job on the previous time. So we'll see how it goes. Hopefully I didn't screw it up. But the way this gun looked when my friend gave it to me to work on for him, yeah, it's gonna look better for sure. I think I'm gonna, on this 1911 frame, I'm gonna put navel jelly on it, on these two pieces here, and get all that off, because I'm not sure how well the rust blue solution will work on cold blued metal. So I don't want to try that. I want to get it all in the white first. So I'm going to let it sit and do another application. Alright, I did the second application of the rust blue formula and let it dry. And now I've got each one wired up, and I'm going to go hang it in the box with the space heater at the bottom and warm the metal up, just like they do on the Anvil series. If you just search Mark Novak Anvil. Get to his channel, search the channel for rust blue. I believe there's 3 videos with Bob using this same rust blue formula here and the same process. So he'll show you how to set the hot box up and warm up the metal, and then once it's warm you pull the space heater out and you put a vaporizer or a clothes steamer, some source of moisture in there. And so that's what I'm getting ready to do now. Sorry for the lighting in here. This is my laundry room basically. So I've got all the parts hanging in here, space heater at the bottom. I'm going to warm this metal up about 10 minutes. Then I'm going to swap the space heater out for a Vicks humidifier, vaporizer, whatever you want to call it. And I'm going to let it rust up. This is kind of wild. This had cold blue on it from years ago that I did, Brownell's Oxbow blue, and I decided I would take navel jelly to it to remove that cold blue before I did this process, because I wasn't sure how rust blue would take to a cold blued surface. And after 2 applications and rinsing off of the navel jelly, the phosphoric acid in the navel jelly, I guess that I didn't rinse off good enough, is already starting to rust this, like exactly like a rust blue solution would. Which makes sense, because rust blue is mainly acid. So I got this degreased real good. I'm going to go ahead and put the actual rust blue solution on it and then start it on the process. I've got the Colt Pocket Hammerless parts are in the sweat box right now, so they're heated up, and I moved the vaporizer in place of the space heater, so I'll leave that in there. I'll probably check on it in about a half hour, but it may stay in as long as an hour. We'll see. My humidifier doesn't put off like a real visual steam cloud. It's one of those really fine mist ones that doesn't put out a lot of moisture, so it may take longer. We'll see. Alright, sorry again about the lighting in here. So it's been in here for 45 minutes. I think I'm gonna go ahead and take it out and boil it, convert it over, and go on to the next application. Got everything here in the kitchen boiling. This is distilled water. I don't know if distilled water is necessary. I have done this before with spring water, bottled spring water from Walmart. I've heard of people doing it with just tap water. It really shouldn't matter, but since this isn't my gun, I decided to be careful as possible. But the parts pretty much turn black within seconds of going down in the water. So I'm going to let this boil for, I don't know, 20 minutes or so, and then dry it off, and then we'll be on our carding step. Alright guys, I just took it out of the boiling water, hit it with the hot air gun to try to dry it as fast as possible. It'll dry itself pretty quick just from the heat of the boiling process, but I like to just get it as dry as possible so that I can get to carding it as soon as it cools off. I see a couple little spots that didn't take real well. That'll all even up. Probably end up doing like 6 applications here. So if you see, I dunked this in acetone, scrubbed it with a toothbrush for quite a while. Then I did a wash in Dawn dish soap and hot water, scrubbed it all again, wore gloves the whole time. Shouldn't have been any oil left on this thing, but it's possible that there's tiny little spots I somehow miss, or maybe I touched it, had some oil on my glove, touched my face, then touched the gun, so I see a little shiny spot there. That happens. It'll even out. And the boiling process will get any oil that you may have missed in the degreasing process. but you still want to do the best job possible degreasing at the beginning. So now I'm going to lay the parts out on fresh paper towels. I got completely oil-free steel wool. You can use regular steel wool, just make sure you degrease it in alcohol or acetone's best. That's a Brownell's carding brush. This is not a regular hardware store wire brush. This is much finer. And then over on my vise, I have my drill hooked in there with a Brownell's carding wheel chucked in there. So I'm going to start by hand just to see how it looks, and then I may move over to the powered wheel. I'm just going to go easy on it at first. I haven't used this product before, and on my last one I did it all with just the brush and the steel wool, so we'll see how it goes. But I'm going to get it laid out, start carding it down, and then start on the next application. Alright, just got my first carding session done. There's a couple little spots that are light. That's kind of obvious, but overall I'm pretty happy with it. I think maybe what I did is the instructions warn you not to go back over a spot once you apply the solution, and it's kind of hard on some of these parts to not overlap your strokes of the solution, and I think I may have wiped off some of the previous solution by going back over it, but I ought to be able to get that evened up without too much trouble. I think I'm gonna go ahead and glove up again and give this a wipe down with acetone before I apply the next one, just to be safe. I did degrease all my carding brush and the one that's on my drill, soak that in acetone, but just to be careful, I think I'll just go ahead and wipe it down with some acetone on some rags, and then I will do my next application. Alright, I decided to use my, man, this isn't focusing good, my clothing steamer for this go around instead of my humidifier, because this clothing steamer puts out way more moisture. I did have to refill it twice though, but these rusted up a lot more than it did with the humidifier, even in about half the time, a third of the time. So I think that's the way to go. You just got to watch it, because those clothing steamers, at least the one I have, even though I taped over half of the holes, it still runs out in 15 minutes, I'd say. So you got to babysit it and refill it. But wow, it rusted way more. And so now I'm going to toss it in the boiling distilled water and convert it over. Okay, I already started to do a little bit of carding here, but this is the second application after boiling. Still having some issues with the slide. Frame's taking it pretty good. The 1911 frame that I wasn't able to remove the cold blue on because Naval Jelly, which will usually strip bluing like it's nothing, didn't touch that Brownell's Oxfo blue, so I just left it on. But it took it really well. That turned really dark. But I already carded like half of this. That's doing good. This part looks pretty awesome. I just got to figure out what's going on with this slide, and otherwise I think I'm making some good progress. So I'm going to get back to carding. I am using my drill setup here, and it works quite well. Doesn't seem to be too aggressive. I was going to do it by hand, but it seems like it does just as good a job there. It's not too aggressive, so I'm going to get back to it. Alright, just finished the carding for the second application. It looks like this spot here caught up a little bit. I did some reading, and there's a few different things that could cause that. I do not think it's any kind of oil, because I degreased, washed, scrubbed. I just don't think it was oil. I think the guy my friend bought this from may have used a brass or bronze brush on a dremel when he made all these scratch marks, and maybe there's some brass or bronze embedded in the metal, or he used the polishing compound and that's embedded there. And so some people suggested to take some fine sandpaper and sand that spot almost basically down to the white, and then try to catch it up as you go. So I may do that, or I may try something a little less aggressive than sandpaper. We'll see. I'll think it over. But right now I'm gonna pause because it's late, and if I start another one, I'm just gonna be up another couple hours. So pretty happy with how it's going. That's one application on the 1911 and its grip safety. It's taken the bluing pretty well. And then it's 2 on all the parts for the Pocket Hammerless. Some of the stuff is already like quite dark. This is really harsh lighting that you're looking at, so this stuff looks a lot better in person. But I mean, that's as dark or darker than anything on my Star BM that I blued doing 6 applications with the Brownells Classic Rust Blue. And that's just 2 applications so far of this stuff. I'm not trying to sell it to you. I'm just showing you how it's doing, and I'm pretty impressed with it so far. Barrel's taking it pretty well. The smaller parts are. The frame's doing pretty good. I don't know. I'm happy. If I can just get these little splotches to catch up, I think I'm going to be in good shape. But unfortunately, I'm going to have to oil all this so it doesn't rust overnight. And then I'm going to have to do a bunch of degreasing again before I start tomorrow. But you don't want to risk developing rust on stuff that you're working this hard on. So I'm going to put a real light coat of oil on here, get some sleep, and start again tomorrow. Alright, so I just took it out of the boil on the 4th application on the Colt and 3rd on the 1911 parts. I had a issue this morning, so I had oiled it last night before bed. Got up this morning, did a full acetone wash, scrubbed them completely. Then I put them in my big ultrasonic cleaner with Dawn dish soap and hot water. Degreased them in there, then rinsed them like crazy in hot water under the sink. And then they all flash rusted on me like right away. So I got to it real quick, putting the bluing solution on them, and they fuzzed up really well in the sweat box. They all look perfectly coated and brown. Put them in my same pot from yesterday on the stove to boil them, and none of them turned black. They were all completely brown even after 20-25 minutes of boiling. So I was like, oh damn, wasted a whole application. So I brought them right in here and carded them, and they all look fine after carding. So what I did was dump my water from yesterday, get all new distilled water, scrub my stainless pot out because it had a bunch of residue in it, put new distilled water in, and then here's how black they are this time after coming out of the boil. And last time they didn't change one bit. Perfect brown fuzzy rust coming right out of the boil, and I'd never seen that before. So change your water out, clean your pan. If you go from one day to another, maybe 3 boils is too much. So I'm gonna get to carding these. Everything's coming along pretty nicely. I had some spots on this Colt that were not taking the blue. I sanded them with 600 grit, just those little spots, and degreased it real good, and now it's taking the bluing much better. I don't have those bare spots anymore, so there must have been something embedded in there. Maybe the guy used a brass brush when he took a power tool to this, some kind of brass Dremel brush, or maybe there was some polishing compound embedded down in the metal, because I know I degreased those spots plenty. So it had to have been something embedded. So it's going much better now. Got a card and put another application on. Again, that's 3 on that and 4 on these. And we'll see how they look after I card them. Alright, so I set this up so I can show a little bit of carding. I'm sure you guys get the point, but I figured I'd just film a little bit of it real quick. This is going to be super noisy, which is why I usually don't film this step, but it works really well. I also use, let's see, my table is not very organized. Brownell's carding brush, and get up in places. Sometimes I'll use just a regular GI plastic bore or plastic cleaning brush, and then for the barrel, the inside of it, I use this. Came with some surplus pistol I ordered back in the day. I'm not even sure what that's made out of, but does the trick. Make sure you degrease it first. So here we go. So as you can see, it's looking pretty nice. You know, I'm not done yet, of course. Haven't done much on this side, but you can see the parts I've hit starting to look nice and shiny. So that's all I'm doing. Don't judge my messy workbench, and I'm kind of stuck in a corner here, so that's why I usually don't film much over here. So anyway, I'm gonna get with it. One quick thing, if anybody has seen any of my old videos, I showed that I had a grinding motor set up that I had mounted one of these wheels on. That motor spins way too fast, and it strips, even with a soft carding brush, it strips too much of the finish. I don't like using it, so that's why I've gone back to just using this drill. I can control the speed much better. I don't know a whole lot about motors, but the type of motor I got doesn't work well with a variable speed deal attached to it. I did try that. It doesn't work right, and apparently that can burn the motor out. So that's why I'm using this noisy thing. It works fine. Alright guys, something I was going to show you. I think I just got done carding off the 5th application. I think I might be done with the slide. I still have both frames out there rusting up, because they're just running a little slower. I wasn't getting enough steam to one side of them. So anyway, when you're on your last carding process, you're going to want to get into all the little holes and nooks and crannies, your firing pin channel. And one thing that I found are these pipe cleaners that have, you probably can't see it, but these have these little metal or hard plastic, you can hear it, right? They're like hard plastic bristles along with the regular just fuzzy bristles. So what I'll do is I'll just, sorry, I don't have my camera set up right now. I'll just pull them through the different holes like that several times, and you'll see, you know, the little puffs of black stuff coming out. But make sure you get every nook and cranny when you're done, because even if you hadn't been applying that stuff to certain places, it's still going to creep in there, and you're going to have converted rust in there. You don't want to just leave it fuzzy like that. So make sure you get into everything. Another thing you can do, plastic Dremel tips, not metal. I don't know that they make a soft enough metal brush for a Dremel, but they make these little plastic ones, and that works pretty well too. So that'll help you get down into, that's what I use for like the slide rails. So anyway, just wanted to cover that. It's coming along great. I'm thinking about stopping here on the slide. Can still see some scratches, but all those spots where it wasn't taking, the little splotches on the first couple passes after that sanding I did, it all evened up, and the whole slide started taking the blue. I didn't have those little areas that were killing me. So pretty happy with it so far. So I did decide I'm going to stop here on the slide. Next step, used motor oil. I'm going to slop it. I'm going to finish on all these parts here. I'll make a decision on the frames later. They're still rusting up. But you want to use a non-detergent oil. If you can find some small engine oil, compressor oil, just make sure it doesn't have detergents, because this is fresh new bluing and you don't want to hit it with any kind of oil that has anti-rust detergents in it, or it can eat away at your finish and affect how dark it's going to be. From what I hear, used motor oil works best. This will be my first time using it, so wish me luck. I'm just going to slap it on with a paintbrush. You can dip it, dunk it in it if you have enough, leave it in overnight or something. I'm just going to slop it on, set it over here. We'll see how it turns out. Alright, slop the used motor oil on it. Looks pretty black to me. Pretty happy with it. We'll see what it looks like tomorrow when I wipe it off. I'll just leave it overnight. It's already like 10 o'clock at night, so. And I still have to boil and card the frames. But there it is. The stuff doesn't smell great, but I hear it works really well, so. Alright guys, changing subjects here, but I went shooting today. This is a very nice Finn M27 handguard. This crack opened up. It must have just been a hairline, because I never noticed it before, but it opened up as I was shooting today. And that's not a hard repair, so in one way I'm kind of glad it happened, because it made me do something I should have done the day this rifle came in the mail, and that is take it out of the stock. I pretty much always do that, but this rifle had Cosmoline, or whatever the Finn's grease they use is. I don't think it's Cosmoline, but I thought it was okay, and I guess I was lazy. So I took the handguard off, and as I did, I noticed a couple of the screws for the front barrel band and the middle barrel band were rusty. So that made me take it down the rest of the way, and I found this junk. So getting ready to boil and card this. Not gonna refinish, just boil and card, just stop it. See that screw there? That's some rust. The magazine spring part was fine from under here. I already have a few parts like the front barrel band in the boil right now, but just wanted to take the time to make a little service and public service announcement to always take your guns out of the wood, because you don't know what's hiding underneath, even if it's gorgeous on the outside, which this rifle pretty much is. Alright guys, so it's a whole weekend later, and I'm boiling that Colt Pocket Hammerless again. I bought a used, fryer off of eBay. No, it was Amazon actually. It said it was used, but it was just an open box. It had never been used for food or anything. But this thing works great. I'm not using the big stainless pot on the stove anymore. This is way better. The reason I'm boiling this pistol again, I went to put it back together and I noticed the slide was warped or something. I don't know if it was dropped at some point, but you could barely rack the slide on it. So I had to lap the slide in the frame with valve grinding compound, which of course rubbed a bunch of the bluing off. So now I'm touching up the rust blue, and I'm using Mark Lee Express Blue this time, which I think I'm going to switch to for good, because it seems to work better and it's a lot quicker. So I'll explain it here in a bit. Alright, so what had happened was I went to put this back together and I could barely get the slide on, and I guess I didn't really notice before. My buddy had never shot this gun, he had never taken it apart, anything. So I put some valve grinding compound in the slide rails and just worked the slide back and forth, and maybe you can see, like right here, the bluing's a little white. I'm 2 cycles in to re-blue this, and I'm using Markley Express Blue, and I'm liking it a lot more because you heat up the parts to about 200 degrees. First I was using a torch, which I would not recommend. The instructions say to use a torch or other method. What I'm using now is my toaster oven that I use for baking my powder coated lead bullets, and that's working great. So you heat the parts up to about 200, get them out. You don't have to be near as neat with putting this solution on. You can overlap, it doesn't screw it all up. It just seems like a lot more foolproof solution to me, and it's getting it really nice and dark. So I'm gonna keep doing it this way. Probably switch to this stuff permanently because I'm really digging it. I did a few parts on a Mosin and that had rusted up before I bought it, and it turned out really well. That's kind of, I tested this stuff on a Mosin butt plate was the first thing I did. It was a spare part I had just to see how it works, so I'm liking it so far. I didn't explain it really well. Another big advantage of this stuff over the other rust bluing solutions I've used, you don't need a sweat box. You don't have to steam the parts to get them to rust up, so you get to skip that whole long step. You heat the parts up, you degrease the parts, heat them up, put this on it, they flash rust immediately, and as soon as the solution is dry, you go boil it for 5 minutes. That's it. Then you're ready to card. You don't have to sit them out, let them rust up for long periods of time, or build a sweat box with a vaporizer in it. You totally get to skip that step, and it still gets it really nice and dark. So I can't speak as to how durable that finish is, but I've seen a lot of other people use it, and I'm guessing it's pretty durable. So I'm gonna stick with this for now. I'll let you know if I find any negatives about it, but so far it's just awesome. Alright, I'm done. The one extra step you have to do with the Express Blue is you have to neutralize the parts in baking soda water once you do your final carding step. So I've got it in here for about a half hour. Then I'm going to slop used motor oil on and leave them till tomorrow, and then hopefully tomorrow I'll do the final assembly of the gun. Alright guys, she's completely done. Putting that back together was an adventure. I don't know if I could have done it, but I ordered the American Gunsmithing Institute video on this gun, and I also watched Mark Novak on the Anvil. He has one putting one of these back together. It's a chore. It's doable though. I figured it out. But man, it looks great. The bluing came out awesome. I really like the Markley Express Blue. I'm kind of glad I had the issue with the slide not fitting right, because that led to me running it through a few rounds of that Markley stuff, and it really darkened it up even more. So I'm a pretty big fan. But she's all done now. I gotta test fire it. I don't think my friend ever shot this. Who knows if it'll work or not. It may need some new springs. We'll see. But everything function checks great. Slide is smooth as butter now after I lapped it. So I'll report back once I try shooting it, and we'll see how it does. Let's see, give you a view of the other side here. There's still some scratches that I didn't get out, but the color's great. I mean, this thing was almost completely in the white with just a bunch of freckling all over it. and then dremel scratches. I did not blue the mag. I may go back and do that. My problem with that is you can't take the bottom of the mag off, so cleaning the inside, any of the bluing solution that gets on the inside of the mag is going to be real tough. You don't want to leave any of that crap in there, so that's one reason I didn't do the mag. But I'll ask my buddy if he wants me to, and I guess decide from there. And that's it.